Hello everyone, today I'm going to recap a 2018 dark romantic film named Dirty Work. The movie starts by showing a woman. Her name is Arabella, she is a fashion designer. She sits for breakfast at Marilyn's house with Marilyn's husband Ross. Ross is quite rich and Marilyn is a writer. He doesn't leave any of the opportunity to humiliate her, and makes her feel disappointed. That morning, Ross tells her that she hasn't been writing for days, and all she does is sit at home leisurely without doing anything. He also says to her that she has married him only for money. She doesn't say a word. Suddenly Ross starts coughing severely. Arabella asks him to call the ambulance. Ross falls and they both watch him dies. We can't blame them unless we know where it all started from. A flashback shows a few months back. Arabella is an aspiring fashion designer, who dreams to make a wave in the fashion industry. It's a tough pill to swallow for her as she keeps making efforts that often end badly. Then after one of her photo shoots, she submits her work to the manager Ian, and asks him to recommend it to the people who he knows. Then after few days, she again meets Ian. He tells her that all her work has been rejected. She couldn't believe her words, because she had given all her energies to that project, and she just couldn't take a no as in response. Ian encourages her that she knows how the industry will be, and how a model who aren't known will not make it. He advises her to keep adding her efforts, and one day she will get her breakthrough. She points out to him that she has added all her efforts to this project. She has wasted all her money and time. She also says that she has even lost friends for this project, and she wonders when she will eventually get her breakthrough. He advises her to find jobs related fashion designing and work with them, until she gets her breakthrough, but she refuses his offer. He then asks her if she knows anything about the personal shopper. She tells her that most fashion designers who hasn't been known will work as personal shoppers. He then brings out an advert for a personal shopper. He asks her to attend the interview, hoping that it is better than doing nothing. Hesitantly she goes for the interview. That interview is the one which is going to change her life. While she waits for her turn to meet the interviewer, she feels that she actually isn't the same as an average woman. She always seems unique from others. She has an inner self that is much unique from that of an average girl. When it's her turn for the interview, she enters and meets Marilyn for the first time. She sits and introduces herself, but Marilyn says she knows her name and she isn't interested in her works. So Arabella won't sell herself. She then continues to introduces herself and talks about her school life. Marilyn asks her what she will offer to this job apart from everyone outside that room for the interview as a fashion designer. There has to be something that Arabella can do specifically. She tells Marilyn that she is sure that she can do the job better than everyone else outside the room. So Marilyn asks her if her parents support her career choice which she has choose for herself. Arabella says that her parents are late. Marilyn tells her that she has a book launching 3 weeks ahead, and she needs a personal shopper who could help her in an emergency, for every possible days till the end of the launch, and asks if Arabella is capable at that point. Arabella feels intimidated. She comments that the way Marilyn speaks to her makes her feel like someone is hammering down her. She leaves the room angrily by disposing the job advert. At that moment she doesn't know that Marilyn will be the one who will unleash her inner self. She then returns home and meets a plumber, who is working on their faulty taps. She goes to him. The man's name is Marcus. He tells her about how he relocated to this city about 2 years ago, and now he has his job and he has a house for himself. All he wants now is a woman. He tries to cut some seductive eyes on her, but then her roommate Sophie enters and asks Arabella if Marcus is hot, and if they can use Marcus by confirming with Arabella. She then goes to meet Marcus and ask him if he could help them repair a tap which has corroded in their room. They take him to the room where they both make out with him, and he has sex with both of them. Arabella comments about how wild Sophie is, when she was the one who first helped her in unleashing her inner self, but she couldn't get it done completely. After the affair they both collapse on the bed. Sophie drags her up to kiss her and asks her if she feels anything with the kiss, but they both do not feel anything. They wonder why they feel like touching each other only when there is a man with them. It is revealed that Marcus is the fourth man they have shared. Arabella tells her that it's because they are lesbians. Then Arabella tells Sophie about the job interview. She says that Marilyn makes her feel weak, so Sophie advises her to leave Marilyn and her job. Fortunately the following day, Marilyn calls Arabella to inform her that she has been employed for the job, and she should bring dresses to her apartment. The following day, when Arabella gets to Marilyn's house, she sees her husband Ross. At the first glance she feels that Ross is obviously a cheat, and she figures the reason why Marilyn feels power freaked over her. Between Marilyn wants to feel loved too. She drops Marilyn's clothes on the hanger, and Ross calls her for a coffee. Marilyn returns afterwards and can't find her documents. She sees Ross is having it. He then reads it to embarrass her. She tells him to stop reading. He then calls her to the room and slaps her, telling her that she doesn't contribute any money to the house, so she has no right to talk to him like that. Then he walks away, and Arabella goes to console Marilyn. and Marilyn tells her that she is okay and asks her to prepare her clothes and leave. Arabella asks what the book is about. She tells her that it's about a man who abuses his wife until she kills him. Arabella has always loved girls. It makes her feel pity for her, and she feels so attracted to Marilyn. So Arabella stays in the house and starts to sniff all of Marilyn's clothes. And when Arabella sees Marilyn is coming, she runs to the closet and hide. Marilyn comes with a man, and she watches them having sex and fondle herself. She runs out from the closet when Marilyn goes to have her bath, and she again watches Marilyn bathing. She finds her unable to stop herself. One morning, while she shops for Marilyn's interview clothes with Dylan, she gives the clothes which she made for Marilyn, but Marilyn rejects them. Then she gives her designer wear. She wears it and goes for her interview. After the interview, Dylan flirts with her, and then they have sex. While Arabella watches them in the bedroom for the first time, she feels like joining her. Her inner self has woken up and says her to join them. Same night, she calls Sophie and tells her that she wishes to join the relationship. Sophie mocks her that why she speaks like this is because it's her mother's death week and she is scared. Arabella tells Sophie that she isn't drunk or having drugs and she is fine. The following day, she goes to Marilyn's house, and she sees Marilyn is now with another man. She watches Marilyn having sex with him, and when the man goes to use the restroom, Marilyn calls out for Arabella. She says she knows Arabella has been watching them, but she wonders why Arabella has never joined them. She asks Arabella if she is willing to join them and become a loyal dog, and Arabella accepts to join them. When the man returns, Marilyn blindfolds him and asks Arabella to come and have sex with him. Marilyn watches Arabella having sex with the man, and she masturbates. After the romance, they gets close to each other, and she asks Arabella of her most public sex. Arabella replies that she had sex with her best friend's dad on the train, and then Marilyn wears a chain around her neck, and tells her she will be her dog, doing what she says and whenever she wants, and she will pay her for that. During their next dressing, she asks Arabella to attend one of her husband's business meetings with her. Then Ross sleeps right after the meeting, and Marilyn proceeds to have a threesome with two of the men, and another one goes to have sex with Arabella. The following day, Arabella asks Marilyn what she would have done if Ross wakes up, and asks her why she had stayed in a loveless relationship. Marilyn explains that Ross would threaten her to collect everything from her, and she feels trapped. After the conversation, Arabella watches Ross talking to an unknown man. She wonders if she should tell Marilyn about him. Most importantly, now she is her submissive, but she doesn't tell her. Then she meets Sophie. She wonders if Arabella is in love with Marilyn, but she claims she isn't in love. When she returns to Marilyn's house, she sees the door was locked. She enters the house through the back door, and she finds Marilyn was injured. She goes to console Marilyn, but she asks her to take her, where she can find peace from pain. Marilyn takes Arabella to a club. It's a members-only BDSM club. Then Marilyn lies to guard that Arabella is her daughter, so that Arabella can gain entrance. Arabella had never been to a club like that, which was a lifetime experience for Arabella. She refuses to inflict pain, but then Marilyn ties her and makes her to watch her sex. Arabella gets jealous that other men are touching Marilyn while she watches, and the following day, when Marilyn releases her, Marilyn asks if she will do anything for her. She kisses Marilyn and they have sex. At home, she informs Marilyn of the strange man. When Marilyn wakes up, she sees Arabella making breakfast for Ross. That breakfast leads Ross to his death, and while he is in pain, they make him watch them as they have sex. Then the police arrives at their home, and they ask them if they know someone who can hurt Ross. So Arabella tells them about the strange man in hoodie. After the meeting, Marilyn has a bath with her and tells her they have to have space for some days. Marilyn asking her how she got the power to kill her husband, and how she feels having that dominance. Arabella narrates that she had an intercourse with Sophie's father at the age of 13, and it continues until she tells him she wants something serious. And then he breaks up. She threatens to tell Sophie, but he begs her on knees. 2 days later, he commits suicide. They depart from the city that night. Then she decides to use her skill to create designs, and her designs are accepted by a designer who asks her to make a sample. She calls Marilyn to celebrate and she sneaks into Marilyn's house. She meets the man in a hoodie and confronts him. The man tells her that he is a private investigator hired by Ross, who feels his life is at stake. He says she should be careful with Marilyn as Marilyn will always have the power, and no one will have power when she is there. The man leaves and Marilyn arrives. She packs her things hurriedly, and when Arabella confronts her, she calls the police and makes them hear how Arabella killed her husband. When she attempts to leave, and Arabella asks if she is used, she explains to Arabella that everything was her plan, and she was in power in the relationship and she wanted her husband dead, but she didn't want to use her hands, so Arabella was the best fit. She says it's time for the final act, and she brings out a hammer and hits her head. Arabella feels compassion for her and takes the hammer from her. The police arrives and Marilyn pretends to be the victim. Arabella is arrested and she gets imprisoned for 6 years. But then she is released for good behavior. Then she finds Marilyn waiting for her at the prison gate. Throughout her stay at the prison, she figures out what's her real position is. It's not to be a designer, but to be Marilyn's pet, and movie ends. Thanks for watching the video.